The Uncharted games are some of my favourites, with Uncharted 2 being my favourite game of all time. They perfectly blend combat, platforming, puzzles and storytelling into experiences that are hard to put down. It's fair to say then that I had very high hopes for Uncharted 4: A Thief's End, but I also had some concerns. I felt that Uncharted 3, while being a good game, is the weakest in the series, and for this reason I was worried that there was nowhere left for Nathan Drake's character to go, and that his best stories had already been told. As it turns out, there was still one great story left. Simply put, Uncharted 4 is Naughty Dog's magnum opus. It refines and polishes everything the series is known for, while also incorporating some important elements learnt from The Last of Us. It doesn't stray from the established formula or push Uncharted into new waters though, so don't expect something radically different to the past games. Uncharted 4 delivers very much the same experience you've come to expect from the franchise. This does come at the cost of some originality though. I'm not going to spoil the story, so I won't talk details, but it's the same basic premise as the prequels. You travel the world bouncing from exotic location to exotic location in search of ancient treasure. At the same time, you're being pursued by a ruthless villain who's hell-bent on finding it first. Along the way, you'll solve mysteries, discover hidden treasure, and mow down mercenaries by the dozen.
All they wanted to do was to murder and pillage in peace.
No, they wanted to live as free men.
What Uncharted 4 does do differently than the previous games is take a self-reflective approach to the storytelling, particularly when dealing with the motives of Drake. It's not just about finding the treasure this time, in fact the central narrative is just as concerned with the characters' relationships. In order to achieve this, the pace has been slowed down and more time has been spent on character development. The storytelling is much darker and personal this time round, and the pacing and rhythm of the game is far better for it. As a result, there's a lot of cutscenes, particularly early on, that help build these backstories and develop the characters. I didn't keep a stopwatch count, but it feels like there's significantly more than any of the other earlier games. This isn't a bad thing though. A lot of time has passed since the events of Uncharted 3, so there's a lot of backstory to catch up on. There's some great writing and some really solid performances too, so I never felt the urge to skip these sequences despite their length. There's also lots of optional dialogue sequences, including the occasional dialogue tree, and these provide a bit more insight and depth to the story. All in all, it's a much more mature and serious game compared to the others. This might seem at odds with the swashbuckling gameplay and tongue-in-cheek banter between the characters in-game, but the way it's also seamlessly woven together is very impressive, and it never feels at odds with itself.
Hey, you like that, huh?
Coward.
Yeah, but Sully, come on, it's a lemur. Come say hi.
Equally impressive is the transition from cutscenes to gameplay. This is something that the series is well known for, but the upgrade to the visuals has made them crazy smooth. There were more than a few occasions where I had no idea that I was in control, and I was blown away that I was actually playing. The graphics and presentation on the whole are spectacular. The art direction and level design have a lot to do with this, with loads of beautiful vistas and awe-inspiring ruins. The levels are massive too, with some very impressive draw distances and a ton of detail. This has allowed each area to be far less linear, and as a result there are often multiple routes that you can take. It's not exactly an open world game, but it does allow for plenty of freedom. It also means that you'll need to search even harder to find all those hidden treasures. The vehicle sections in particular show off just how much larger levels are able to be with the improved hardware of the PS4. These sections add some welcome variety to the platforming and gunfights without ever feeling overdone. The larger, less linear level design also provides more diverse action sequences. You can choose to tackle most scenarios unseen, or if you prefer, go in guns blazing, which gives the game decent replayability. Gameplay has also seen an upgrade, with refinements made to most systems, and character animations are smoother and more organic looking than ever. Some of the new melee attacks where you disarm enemies are really ridiculous, and they do a great job of making you feel more skilled than you actually are. When all the new mechanics, flashy animations and systems come together, the game looks really incredible. A couple of minor gripes I have is that with so much effort being made to humanise the characters and with ever more realistic visuals, the gymnastic abilities of Drake and the other characters does seem quite unbelievable. They'll happily scale cliffs and buildings with no safety gear and then leap from huge heights to stick landings that would shatter the shins of any normal human. Another complaint is that Ellie doesn't look the same. The character model looks great and much more human than before, but not a lot like the previous versions. Apart from these issues, the game otherwise looks fantastic and runs silky smooth even when there's loads of action going on.
Come on, double or nothing, my car could really use a good cleaning.
Now, it wouldn't be an Uncharted game without puzzles, and Uncharted 4 does not disappoint, with plenty of elaborate multi-part head scratches. I personally felt they could have been a bit more difficult though. I like to think that I'm pretty good with puzzles and I never really got stuck in any of Uncharted 4's, so it would have been nice if they were a little bit more challenging. Having said that, none of them felt too easy either, and after the puzzles in Uncharted 3, which I thought were kind of underwhelming, it's definitely a return to form. They never quite reach the heights of Uncharted 2, but they're still some of the series' best. Along with the stellar visuals and new gameplay mechanics, the audio design is also very impressive. The classic Uncharted score returns and has been reworked to be fittingly darker, emphasizing the overall more serious tone and chiming in at the perfect moment to give you goosebumps. Explosions and gunfire sound meaty, and the ambient background noise does an excellent job at establishing atmosphere.
Wow, Avery wasn't much for subtlety or understatement, was he?
Well, he had the money. You got it, flown it, right? Come on, let's get a closer look.
If you have the means, I highly recommend playing this with a decent pair of headphones or a surround system for the full experience. Along with the main story, there's also competitive multiplayer. This has been a staple of the series since Uncharted 2, and it continues to be a surprisingly fun and robust component. There's a good selection of modes and maps to play on, and a ton of different weapons, characters, and abilities to choose. If you want more detail about the multiplayer component, I did a whole video discussing it when the beta was on. Not a great deal has changed since then, but obviously there are more maps and modes to play with in the full release. One additional thing that I will mention about the multiplayer is that, in a smart move by Sony and Naughty Dog, all the new maps and modes added via DLC later on will be free. This will prevent the player base from becoming fragmented into the haves and the have-nots, and it's something that I'd like to see more games start doing. Also, while you can spend real-world money on vanity items, it is possible to earn everything in-game with enough playtime, and there isn't any pay-to-win items that can be purchased with real money. Hopefully these decisions will help establish a solid community around the multiplayer, and it has the legs to last for a decent amount of time. All in all, Uncharted 4 is an incredible experience. It's not a perfect game, but it might just be a perfect Uncharted game, and fans of the series will love every moment of it. It's sad to see the end of Nathan Drake and his tales, but I really couldn't think of a better way to end it. If you own a PS4, this is a must-play.
That was kind of hairy.